West Bromwich Albion have already lost 2 points, Tottenham Hotspur are calling Wolves must win while pretending that is not pressure, and Manchester United have a transfer that sounds close until you read the conditions. That is the theme today, football talking like everything is under control while the bill is sitting on the table. Skip the next few minutes and you miss where the spin stops working. We are back with Just Soccer, and the first story is the kind clubs hate because there is nowhere to hide. West Bromwich Albion have been docked points and the table does not care about anybody's explanation. There is no gentle warm-up here. West Bromwich Albion are not dealing with a warning shot or some distant legal cloud. The hit has already landed. West Brom docked 2 points for profit and sustainability rule breaches. Nothing exposes bad governance faster than a punishment that edits the league table in public. Supporters can stomach losing to a better team. Losing points because of boardroom failure creates a very different sort of fury. The English Football League has imposed a 2-point penalty on West Bromwich Albion for breaching profit and sustainability rules. That is the hard fact, and it matters because this is immediate, not theoretical. The deduction changes the club's league position right now, during the run-in, when every point starts feeling like it has a pulse. 2 points can sound small when it is read calmly off a screen. In the table, it feels much uglier. One result can swing the picture. One bad weekend can suddenly hurt more than it should, and rival clubs do not care whether the damage came from shaky defending or shaky accounting. The reaction makes sense. Some fans point at governance, others sympathize with players and supporters carrying a punishment they did not personally create. That is why these stories never feel clean. The mistake happens somewhere in offices and spreadsheets, but the sporting cost lands on the squad and the crowd. West Bromwich Albion have lost 2 points, and from here every fixture carries extra weight because the margin for error is now smaller than it was yesterday. From a club taking an open table punishment to one trying to make instability sound like momentum. Chelsea have gone interim, and that always tells its own story. The remarkable rise of Chelsea's interim boss, Calum McFarlane. Interim appointments are usually sold as opportunities. Most of the time they are stress tests wearing a tie. If Calum McFarlane settles Chelsea quickly, that says as much about the club's need for order as it does about his rise. Calum McFarlane is Chelsea's interim head coach, and he has described the year as a whirlwind. That part rings true. A jump into first-team leadership is rarely neat, and it becomes even less neat when it follows Rosonier's sacking. Chelsea are trying to create some continuity, but interim jobs always come with a question hanging over the dugout. Is this a bridge, or is this just the least chaotic option available? Some supporters will like the familiarity. Internal appointments can reduce the shock that comes with a new voice, a new method, and a new batch of slogans about standards. Still, caution is fair. Clubs often treat an interim spell like clever restraint when sometimes it is simply delay with better public relations. The real issue is whether Chelsea look more coherent, not whether the press release sounds calm. One line needs to stay clean. Nothing in the source says McFarlane will be appointed permanently, and there is no verified link here to transfer plans or long-term promises. Right now, he is Chelsea's interim head coach. He says the switch has been rapid, and the judgment will come from whether the team looks steadier by season's end or merely quieter. Chelsea are trying to find balance through an interim handover. Tottenham Hotspur do not have that luxury. Roberto De Zerbi has reached for the classic managerial contradiction, and you can hear why. De Zerbi, I'm not putting pressure on the squad, but the Wolves clash is a must-win. Calling a match must-win while saying you are not adding pressure is football's version of whispering during a fire alarm. The message still makes sense because De Zerbi is trying to keep panic out of the players without lying about the table. Roberto De Zerbi says he does not want to put extra pressure on his Tottenham Hotspur squad, but he has also called the trip to Wolves a must-win. On paper, that sounds like a contradiction. In practice, it sounds like a manager trying to hold two truths together at once. The situation is serious, and panic will only make it worse. Sky Sports frames those comments against Tottenham Hotspur being in the bottom three before the match, which changes the temperature of every sentence. Managers try to protect players publicly because fear changes how a team behaves. Passes get rushed, clearances become gifts, and suddenly every attack looks like one player trying to rescue the entire season alone. De Zerbi's wording feels like an attempt to create urgency without infecting the squad with dread. It is a smart balance only if the performance backs it up. If Spurs look composed, the message will seem measured. If they freeze, fans will hear must win and wonder why the emotional packaging mattered at all. Wolves will not hand out points for nuance, and Tottenham Hotspur are running out of room for elegant explanations. From survival tension to transfer theater, which is where the market starts dressing curiosity like certainty. Real Madrid and Rafael Leao is glamorous enough to travel fast, so it needs a cooler rear. Transfer news: Real Madrid want Rafael Leao as a top target. A Real Madrid rumor only needs 10 believable seconds before it turns into global football conversation. Rafael Leao is talented enough for the link to sound serious. That does not mean the story is close to being done. Reports suggest Real Madrid want Rafael Leao as a top target for the summer. The verified core is simple. Rafael Leao plays for AC Milan, and Real Madrid are reported to want him. Everything beyond that needs restraint. There is no confirmed fee in this source package, no signed agreement, and no basis here to say personal terms are already sorted. This is where transfer reporting turns into stagecraft. One huge club, one high-level forward, the right time of year, and suddenly interest gets sold like movement. AC Milan supporters will split exactly how you would expect. Keep him at all costs on one side, cash in if the number is ridiculous on the other. Both reactions are understandable. What is not smart is pretending a serious link and a completed chase are the same thing. The wider roundup also mentions Enzo Fernandez in connection with Manchester City, but that too is framed as ongoing chatter rather than closure. So the sensible verdict is not cynicism for show, it is discipline. Real Madrid may admire Rafael Leao a great deal, but admiration is still not a contract, and football news loves skipping that inconvenient middle part. One rumor tells you who wants to look ambitious. A stalled negotiation usually tells you who does not like the terms enough to keep smiling through them. Transfer radar. Bayern Munich not progressing in negotiations for Feyenoord's Givairo. Not progressing is not the same as dead, and every summer people blur those phrases until the whole market sounds faker than it already is. When Bayern Munich slow down, the revealing question is rarely whether they rate the player, it is whether they rate the price and timing. Bayern Munich are reported not to be progressing in negotiations for Feyenoord's Givairo. That wording matters. It does not mean the move is over, abandoned, or impossible. It means talks are not moving forward in a meaningful way at this stage, which leaves room for a pause, a reset, or a pivot towards something else. From Feyenoord's side, a slowdown is not automatically bad news. Holding position can protect leverage just as easily as it can threaten a sale. From Bayern Munich's side, the report feeds the familiar summer debate about whether the club should persist, shift to other targets, or wait until the market softens. Fans will react the way fans always do. Somebody will name 3 alternatives, somebody else will accuse the board of haggling over pennies, and both groups will act like they have the full spreadsheet. The clean facts are narrow for a reason. There is no verified asking price here, no confirmed Bayern Munich offer amount, and no explicit cancellation language. Givairo remains a Feyenoord player, and Bayern Munich are not progressing in negotiations for him. That leaves the story hanging in the air, which is often where transfer sagas are most annoying. If Bayern Munich are stuck in slow motion, Manchester United have chosen another summer classic. A promising headline with enough small print to keep the anxiety alive. Man United Romano confirms agreement in principle to sign PL star. Fee hinges on 3 factors. Agreement in principle is real progress, but fans hear it like a completed signing, and clubs are rarely desperate to correct that misunderstanding. The most important part of this report is not the excitement, it is the warning that 3 factors still control the fee, which means 3 places where this can still wobble. Fabrizio Romano reports that Manchester United have an agreement in principle to sign a Premier League player. The deal framework reference is around £50 million, but it is clearly conditional, and that word does a lot of work. Another boundary matters just as much. The player is not verified in the provided source pool, so naming anybody would be guesswork pretending to be confidence. What is solid is that the fee hinges on 3 factors. That tells you the move has not crossed the line yet, and everybody involved still has room to push, delay, or reshape the terms. This is the phase where supporters start picturing shirt numbers while the people in suits are still arguing over details that look tiny until they stop the whole operation. Manchester United supporters know this routine all too well. Public progress creates relief, then one unresolved variable drags on and the mood flips by the weekend. So yes, this sounds meaningful. No, it is not finished. An agreement in principle gets you closer to the door, but it is still not the same as walking through it. After all the executive language and transfer caveats, this one comes from the pitch itself. Sometimes a player's profile changes not because of a leak, but because one moment explodes into the wider football world. Shea Charles. It's gone all over after a viral moment as Southampton planned for FA Cup semi-final. This is how attention arrives for a young player. One big goal, one viral celebration, and suddenly the audience gets much larger. Smart clubs do not scout the clip alone. They watch what happens when the noise grows and the player has to perform through it. Shea Charles said it has gone all over after a celebration from the goal that helped Southampton knock out Arsenal, and he is relishing Saturday's FA Cup semi-final against Manchester City. There is something very human in that reaction. Viral moments can feel surreal enough on their own. Pairing one with a huge semi-final is how a young midfielder suddenly finds himself under a brighter light than usual. The lazy move would be to turn that attention into an invented transfer saga. There is no confirmed transfer here, no verified release clause, and no contract detail in the source package that gives permission to start writing fantasy shopping lists. What is real is the platform. A semi-final against Manchester City is exactly the sort of occasion that increases scrutiny from fans, media, and recruitment staff all at once. Southampton will want the story centered on the match, which is completely fair. Football rarely stays that tidy. If Shea Charles performs again on that stage, the attention will grow whether anyone planned for it or not. That is the reward, and it is also the pressure. The final story cuts through transfer noise and managerial phrasing. This is not about spin, it is about conduct, punishment, and football still failing a test it should have passed years ago. Prestianni handed 6-match ban for discriminatory conduct towards Vinicius Jr. A 6-match ban is serious, but the bigger indictment is that the game still arrives at punishment only after the harm has already happened. Vinicius Jr. should not keep appearing in these stories as the target, while football congratulates itself for reacting once the damage is public. UEFA has handed Gianluca Prestianni a 6-match ban for discriminatory conduct towards Vinicius Jr. The punishment relates to allegations of abuse during the side's knockout playoff round match in Lisbon. 6 matches is not a decorative sanction tucked away in tiny print. It brings immediate availability and consequences, which is exactly what a ban is supposed to do. There is no point softening the language here. Condemnation is the obvious response, and calls for stricter enforcement are justified. A ban matters, but it also leaves the deeper frustration untouched. Football still too often reacts after these incidents rather than building enough force to deter them before they happen, then acts shocked when supporters demand more than a statement and a stern paragraph. One limit in the reporting should stay respected. The source package does not verify Prestianni's current club, and it does not report any appeal outcome, so the accurate version is also the cleanest one. UEFA has imposed a 6-match ban on Gianluca Prestianni for discriminatory conduct towards Vinicius Jr., and that sanction now affects his availability across upcoming matches. That is the day on Just Soccer. West Bromwich Albion paying the table for mistakes above the pitch, Chelsea trying to dress an interim appointment as stability, Tottenham Hotspur using calm language in a must-win situation, and the transfer market once again flirting with certainty before it has earned it. Add Shea Charles stepping into a bigger spotlight, and UEFA handing Gianluca Prestianni a serious ban. And the pattern is hard to miss. Football loves the polished version of events. Consequences are usually the truer one.